Released in 1982, this is Irem's Moon Patrol. For its time, Moon Patrol was quite the looker. It was one of the first two games to introduce parallax scrolling. The second was Taito's Jungle Hunt, also released in 1982. Straight away you'll notice that the music sounds familiar. Yep, that's right. Atari ripped it off for their delivery boy hit, Paperboy. Maybe they thought because they had the rights to port it to various systems, it also gave them the rights to the music. I wonder if Irem ever tried to sue Atari. In the game you take control of a Lunar City police officer assigned to Sector 9, the home of the toughest thugs in the galaxy. While driving your lunar buggy, obstacles such as craters and mines must be avoided, and various enemies such as UFOs from above and tanks on the ground must be shut down. Watching the game in motion makes it look rather easy, but completing all 26 areas is quite a challenge. I sure can't do it with ease. So let's start off the ports with the Apple II version. First impressions are good thanks to the smooth controls, reasonable graphics and good audio. Well, for an Apple II. In fact, this is a pretty good port with only one minor gripe. Should even a pixel of your lunar buggy be over the crater while the wheels are still on the ground, then it's instant death. Kind of annoying when the buggy wheels are still far from the crater. I quite like the Atari 2600 version of Moon Patrol. The buggy kinda looks like a DeLorean with feet running along like a cartoon. I did notice that the default setting to this port is more difficult than the arcade original, plus there are no continues in this version. Man, the Atari 5200 is sure an ugly looking system. The graphics on a 2600 port are easier to make out than the garbled blocks on the 5200. Still, to the game's defense, there are 3 layers of parallax scrolling and it also allows for continues. I do feel that the 2600 version plays better though. The jumps in this port feel too heavy. This is exactly the same as the 5200 version, but now only makes use of one button. Yep, just like the 2600 port, up is jump, whereas on the 5200 it uses a dedicated button for jump, just like the arcade original. Andromeda Software is behind this heap of crap. How on earth can you mess up a game as basic as Moon Patrol? The controls suck on this port. They're sluggish and unresponsive at times. The enemy ships are more annoying than a challenge, and they'll spend most of their time in an area where you can't shoot them down. And the terrain on which you drive is so poorly designed that again it's frustrating rather than a challenge. After playing that rubbish on the ST, I was glad that the Commodore 64 port was actually kind of fun. There's nothing really wrong with this port apart from it being tougher than it needs to be. Yet another port from Atari Soft, so we know that Stage 2 is going to look just like Stage 1. The Vic-20 does well here, providing us with a game that not only looks good for the hardware, but also sounds and plays well too. Here we go with the ZX Spectrum port. This is by Atari Soft, and pretty much like everything Atari Soft ported to the ZX Spectrum, this is awful. Slow, stupidly floaty jumps and jerky scrolling. A truly horrible port. Boy, am I glad the MSX didn't get a crappy ZX Spectrum port, as so often is the case. This time it received a port by the Japanese developer Denpa, and what a great little port it is. The scrolling is smooth for an MSX, and we also have a little parallax scrolling in there. Nice. Gameplay wise, we are also on a good thing with this port, although sometimes your lunar buggy and bullets can get lost due to color clashing with the background. Wow, another port that I'm pleasantly surprised with. This MS-DOS version is basically the same as the Apple II, but now running a little smoother with CGA graphics. Not bad. Not bad at all. And here we have the best playing port so far on the Colecovision. What's sad is that this is a prototype build. The game was never actually released. It's such a shame as this sounds, looks and plays great. I do hope that the bra shaped enemies will have been changed for the final version, mind you. The Texas Instruments 99 may not be known for its games, but it did have a few reasonable arcade ports, including Moon Patrol. While it may be a little slow, it does have reasonable playability, and it does resemble the arcade stage layout, unlike many other ports. Not a bad effort all round. Finishing off this large collection of ports, we have the Game Boy Color version, which was ported by Digital Eclipse. So no surprise they got something as simple as the music key wrong. As for the way it plays, well, it's fast and pretty responsive. And let's take a look at all those versions of Moon Patrol running side by side.